So the last part of this deliverable is really focused on design communication of the existing conditions of the site. Existing conditions just meaning this is what the site is like before we propose our changes. And it's really important to know where you're coming from so that way you have a comparison of what it was and what it would be. So the first and easiest thing we're going to do is model the sidewalk that exists here. We have the points, but this is a linear feature, so we should show it as such. This is a great use of the 3D polyline because it will follow the contour of the surface. And also remember what we talked about with this object snapping command. Right now, I'm just gonna open it up and select all of them and hit OK. And this way I can basically draw this line from point to point. So I have a couple of points that kind of repeat each other, and I don't need to draw it between all of those, but I can definitely draw it between at least one of them. So I'm just going to go through and model this sidewalk. Remember, this will not be the same as that background image that we have, but you know that it should follow a similar shape. So this is a great example. I did that. We know the sidewalk doesn't do that. So let me use U to undo that. And that looks way better. Just going to the one of those points. You only need a model as far as your site conditions allow you to. When I'm thinking about the design elements we're going to have for this project, pretty much all of them are going to be here, which means nothing here is going to change. If you really wanted to, you could even get rid of a lot of these points and create the surface here, where my cursor is, because unless you're proposing changes up here, it doesn't really matter about them. So I'm not going to model this part of the sidewalk. I definitely could. These points could have been labeled sidewalk, but I didn't do that. So I'm just going to keep going with my sidewalk points here. All right, now that I'm basically done, I can use C to close. And now I have one big 3D polyline for my sidewalk. If you use multiple polylines, that's fine. You can use the join command as we demonstrated in deliverable 1 and join those polylines that way. Now that I have this, I'm going to take this polyline and I'm going to change the color of it. I think right now it's on layer 0. That's fine. I can't see a reason I would ever need to turn this off or isolate it by itself. So that's okay. And I'm going to assign the same blue color to it. And now that I have the outline of the sidewalk, I don't really need these points. So I'm going to go to my point groups and I'm going to hide the sidewalk points under that hide below layer. And oh, they're not going away because if you remember the draw order of this, they're being rendered by survey points and all points before they are being hidden. So I need to make sure these are below as well. Okay, now you can see those are gone and I have my sidewalk outlined here. Great. There's no other linear features, and so the points and the sidewalk pretty much take care of everything on the site. I also don't feel like I really need all of these ground points. The contour lines and the surface boundary take care of those, so I am going to hide those as well. These is all style preferences, so you don't have to, but you can see now how the actual features pop out a lot more at you. I also have this GV standing for gas valve. This isn't a gas valve, I think it's an electrical crate, and just to be transparent with you, I kind of named some of these points randomly, so don't look at yours and go, oh, there should be a storm sewer here. I intentionally made mine not look like yours. So that way you couldn't just copy what I did. I don't like that style, so I'm going to change it to pretty much anything else. Let's see what works. Maybe a sign looks good. Nope, that's a tiny dot. basin. Too similar. STA. Sure, that works. I don't know what that is, but that works. Okay, now I have these points, but how do you know what they mean? Well, you made them, so that might make sense to you, but keep in mind, a real civil engineer might be bouncing between 4 to 10 different projects at the same time, and you'll also be sharing files with a lot of people. Some of them will be civil engineers, and some of them won't. So it's important to be able to communicate your design. And to do that, we're going to make a legend for our points. So we can go to the Annotate tab in the ribbon, and here we can go to Tables, and we can create a table. You can also create a specific legend table, so I would look to see if you have that selected. And here we're going to create a table. Now it's a legend table. We're starting from an empty table. I know we're going to need only 2 columns because I need one to show the point and one for the name. And how many rows do we need? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different point groups. So I'm going to make that 6. All of these are editable entries, so you can always change them later. Hit OK. And it's going to ask for a place to put it. So I'm just going to put it off to the side here. And you can see that it's starting to make my table. I think this is asking for a title. So I'm just going to hit legend. And yeah, you can see it's really small. So I'm going to fill in the text on this side first, and then we can scale this up really big. So I have ground and sidewalk, storm, electrical, light, and tree. I don't need this last row, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Let's see where we can do that. Mention maybe. Nope. Oh, that didn't work either. Oh, here we go. I can click on the actual side and click delete row, and there we go. So you can see I maybe don't play around with legends too much, not super familiar with them. I typically do this once every project and don't touch it again. And now I'm going to scale this up. So I'm going to try using the scale command first and see what that does. Specify base point. That looks like it's working to me. So I'm just going to make this pretty big. And that worked. And now I'll take this, use the move modify command, and move this over here. I do want a little bit more space on this side for my text to all fit on one line. So I need to see if I can either change the text size or change the row width. And it looks like I can change the row width. There we go. And now the legend is only missing the actual points. So we can just create points ourselves. I mentioned that earlier. In the home tab, I can go to point creation tools. And here I can manually select the location. I'm going to turn this object snapping off. And I'm just going to make all the points I need. So this is going to be called ground. It doesn't matter what the elevation is. This is going to be called sidewalk. Does not matter what the elevation is. And you can see the pattern here. Now I'm just going to go to my point groups and update them. And you can see that the styling changed. You can also see that now it's saying I need to update my surface. So why is that? Well, if I rebuild the out-of-date items and update it, now it goes away. An important note to make here, this hide below layer, the properties for it, I used the survey points for it. And when I made these new points, I made sure not to add them to my survey points. So it's possible for this ground style to exist in the legend without the ground being visible on the surface. That's just a little bit of not trickery per se, but something similar to that you can use in Civil 3D. Point groups are really powerful because of that. One extra thing I am remembering right now, if you're looking at your legend and you like the size of your legend, but your points are too big or too small, you don't need to actually change the entire point style. For example, if I went into the point group properties and edited them, you can see a size option. You don't actually have to change it for every point. You can actually click on one point, and in the properties panel, scroll down until you see XY scale. And here you can set a scale. So I'm going to try 2, still kind of small. Maybe I'll go up to 3.5. That looks better to me. So I can use that to change the way the points are showing up. Oh, that was the point elevation. Here is the XY scale. Maybe I want to make this one a little bigger. Yeah. So you can do that to change the scale of your points, so that way they fit nicely inside of your legend. Okay, at this point you are done with the deliverable. You just need to submit your work. Again, please make more saves than I did. I should have made another one when I created the legend. What you need to submit for this deliverable, at least this year, is your raw PENZD data that you got from your survey. So submit the CSV file. And then I want you to submit either 1 or 2 plan sheets showing your surface with the different point styles and one showing the legend. You can submit one that shows both, just make sure it's big enough that we can tell what things are. So up to you if you choose to do 1 sheet or 2, but I'm not gonna go through how to do that. You can refer to the previous videos, but I want to see if you guys can figure it out on your own. If not, go to Piazza, go to office hours, and submit the deliverable on time.